Hey, this is Blondeguygamer, and welcome to another episode of They Made a Sequel? I'll admit, the last one I covered may not have been that obscure as the review so suggested, but I guarantee this will live up to the They Made a Sequel name. Heart of the Alien, Out of This World Parts 1 and 2 for the Sega CD. Yes, not only is this a sequel to Out of This World, but it comes with the original as well. Which is good, since until I got this, I haven't played Out of This World before. Even though I'm pretty late to the party, I can see why it still has the cult status and praise after the over 20 years since it came out. So why is Out of This World something many retro gamers still gush about? Well, you see...
Oh man, Out of This World! Or rather Another World as it was originally called in Europe. Funny story of the name change, by the way. It was Out of This World in North America because of a soap opera that was also called Another World. But there was also a science fiction show called Out of This World anyway, which kind of makes changing the names pointless in the long run.
Angelhalo?
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
What? I can't help out and talk about one of my favorite games of all time?
Well, no, but that doesn't mean you can't just show up out of nowhere and hijack the review.
Right, because you never did that in someone else's review. Right, Tom Hansen?
Point taken.
Besides, I gave you Heart of the Alien, and this review wouldn't be possible without me. You can at least let me talk about Another World. I know the game like the back of my hand. Please?
Oh, alright, but try and be brief.
Okay, now, where was I? In Another World, you play as physicist Lester Knight Shaken after a particle acceleration experiment goes awry, and he is transported to, you guessed it, Another World. The game plays as an action platformer similar to the likes of the original Prince of Persia or Flashback Quest for Identity, the second of which is often confused as the successor of Another World. And I have the sequel to Flashback right here. It's not very good. It was originally released back in 1991 on the Amiga and was ported over to other systems as well. These include the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions, the latter of which is what I have, but has the worst slowdown. However, the Sega CD version with Heart of the Alien is the best console version, as it has virtually no slowdown and a good CD soundtrack too. Certainly better than the 3DO version with its out-of-place redrawn backgrounds and music. It may not be a very long game, but there was certainly a lot of trial and error the first time you play it, no pun intended for my review show. But Another World is still an intricately designed experience, as it immerses you into an alien world in which practically everything can and will kill you. Fortunately, you do get help from a friendly alien and acquire a blaster so that you aren't completely defenseless. But this is one adventure that keeps you on your toes and is an intense struggle for survival.
Okay, Angel, I appreciate the help in the game, but I think I need to take the reins back from my video, thank you.
But I haven't even talked about Eric Chahi yet.
Relax, I do my homework for these reviews. I'll be sure to mention the creator of Another World in this too.
Oh, alright then. Good luck with the sequel.
Thanks, I'm gonna need it. Now then.
The game was made almost entirely by one Frenchman, Eric Chahi, after a rigorous 2-year development cycle, with the only help being from his friend Jean-François Freitas for the music.
Akago.
Using the Amiga platform to program the game, Chahi created an animation technique that utilized vector-style polygons and rotoscoping to give Another World that distinctive art style.
Akago!
What also makes Another World stand out is that it takes a more cinematic approach that hadn't been seen very often back in the day, with its cutscenes with no dialogue and seamless transitions into...
Akago!
Yes?
It too, Amirat Akago.
Hey, you expect me to miss out on this? Another World is also one of my favorite games.
I still didn't expect you to show up too. You don't even make videos anymore.
That doesn't mean I can't cameo in other reviews now and then.
Whatever.
Also, I actually played Heart of the Alien as the first game for my 100 Game Oath blog, which you can check out at akagos100gameoath.wordpress.com.
Uh-huh. Anything else you want to plug?
Hey, I'm not building a Zero Master. That's all I'm promoting while I'm here. Point is, I played the game and I know what you're in for.
Yeah, I'm aware. It's not like I recorded the game for this review beforehand. And if you people keep interrupting me, I'll never get to talk about it.
Okay, I was just trying to help. If you want to get your review going that badly, I'll go. Have fun with the sequel!
Believe me, I will. And if no more Another World fans are going to interject, let's get Heart of the Alien started. Heart of the Alien starts immediately after the ending of Another World, which, by the way, when you play through the first game on this, it goes to part 2 right after. Instead of playing as Lester since he's injured from the ending events of the last game, you take control of the alien buddy. It is an interesting change of things, but the reason you're even playing as him is actually a misconception of sorts from the creator of Another World. You see, Eric Chahi had little to no involvement with the follow-up, which in itself is already not a good sign, but did suggest to take the first game in an alien perspective. Unfortunately, that didn't come to be, and Interplay decided to make it where you play as the alien friend after another world instead. However, we do see in a series of flashbacks what Buddy went through during the events of the last game and how he got captured beforehand. This is actually pretty decent exposition, as before Lester came to this world, our alien friend was the leader of a prosperous village for his people. But then someone with red eyes, because those are needed to know that he's evil, infiltrates and attacks the village with his army of red-indicated people. Our friend is no slouch when it comes to defending his village though, and he grabs his energized whip and makes work that Diva would be proud of. Despite Buddy's valiant efforts, he was stopped and thrown in the same cage with Lester. While his human friend rests at an altar in the same ruined village, the alien sets off to free his people from the red-eyed alien. We take control and die almost immediately. Oh boy. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm well aware that dying was common in another world and that these types of games can get pretty sadistic. In Heart of the Alien, it's worse though, as oftentimes you go to a new screen of the game will go, "Oh, too bad, you're dead, try again," without even a chance to react. It's like the game wants to be like another world and that it's still a dangerous place, but it's an asshole about it and focuses more on frustrating deaths instead of overcoming odds with your wits like in the last game. I'd imagine even Eric Chahi would call on something as to go, "Dude, dick move," or "Mec, dick mouvement," since he's French. According to Google Translate anyway. Thankfully the game uses the same checkpoint and password system, but even when you know what's coming, the tedium of doing the same things over again gets grating, as getting past a lot of the hazards aren't exactly easy or fun thanks to the picky nature of the game. Because Buddy is a pretty sock fellow, his hitbox is naturally pretty large, and if so much as a pixel hits something that kills you, it's back to the last checkpoint. This is especially true with parts that required perfect timing and using the whip. Speaking of which, you do get the whip back shortly after the start, but isn't nearly as cool as the flashback suggested it is. For one, you can't attack anyone or anything with it until the end of the game. Once you find an energizing station, you would think now you can start vaporizing alien dudes with the whip, but instead use it as a gun. Almost exactly like the gun in the first game. Okay, there's reusing things for the sequel, then there's just rehashing the original game. What, Interplay? You couldn't think of a way to use the whip like an intro cutscene during actual gameplay? Using it as the gun again makes having the whip at all seem almost pointless. It would be like in Castlevania games, instead of whipping enemies, your whip just shot bullets instead. These things wouldn't be so much of an issue if they weren't so inferior compared to the last game. The controls, while similar to Another Worlds, aren't the most responsive. Running and jumping have a bit of a naturalistic delay to it, which can kill you until you get used to them. The combat isn't that good either. The gun mechanics of shooting, shields, and super shots to destroy shields and things are still present, but Heart of the Alien manages to take a simple three-way system and mess it up. Even if you so much as hold the A button for a fraction of a section, you put up a shield, which makes firing off regular shots a pain since you need to tap the button for those, making it more sensitive. If you're used to the gunplay from Another World, then this will really throw you off. Even holding fire for a super shot puts up a shield regardless, and you have to rely on that dissipating from enemy fire before you can shoot and destroy their shield. Then you need to quickly pull off a small shot before they put up another shield, which can often not work if you didn't tap the button correctly and you die, or drag out the fight even longer if you accidentally put up another shield instead. Seriously, how do you screw up the gunplay for Another World this badly? Besides using the whip as an inferior blaster, it does have one other use. By pressing up and B, you can whip upward to grab things, to swing across gaps, or pull down things. But the precision needed to do those are mind-numbingly asinine to where you need to be pixel perfect for it to work. It's some of the most fickle hit detection I've seen in a video game. And if the bullshit deaths and hit detection doesn't turn you off, the lack of knowing what you're supposed to do probably will. Again, there were moments in Another World where it was kind of vague in what you're supposed to do to progress in a later area, but it wasn't too often that happened. In Heart of the Alien, it happened in the beginning of the game where there's a beast to my left and a death pit to my right and I had no idea what to do. So naturally, it was off to GameFAQs, which only has one written article for Heart of the Alien and has more bad jokes than a shitty Let's Play. Okay, Skitter Janitor, I know you wrote this in 2005 and it's the only guide, but lay off the jokes. It may need to read this walkthrough more annoying than entertaining. Anyway, what you're supposed to do is get the beast to chase you, then press up to climb this ledge so it runs under you and you can keep going left. It may have just been me, but did this look like a climbable ledge? I thought it was just part of the background originally. The most aggravating moment of not knowing what to do, however, comes with the bomb. Near the end of the game, you need to destroy a generator across a bridge later on. Super shots don't do it, so you need to collect two pieces of a bomb to blow it up. But when you collect both parts and try and use it on the generator, you aren't told how to place the bomb. The manual does tell you about the bomb, but not how to activate it. So I was stuck for a few minutes not knowing how to use the bomb. Want to know how to? I only found out after mashing the buttons in frustration. You need to press both B and C. Look, I'm not asking to be held by the hand here. I know this is an older game and that figuring out what to do on your own can be rewarding and help immerse yourself within a game. But shit like this isn't satisfying to figure out. It just treats you like an idiot because you didn't think to push two buttons together for something you think it would need it to. Hell, the GameFAQ walkthrough does mention how to activate the bomb, but only in the controls section, even then it listed off as pressing all three Genesis controller buttons. The only thing I do feel that lived up to Another World's namesake was the presentation. It still uses the same art style, but the cutscenes in most ways are improved from the previous game as animations are fluid and presented well for a game released in 1994. The death scenes in particular are pretty graphic, which naturally there are quite a few of. There's also some nicely drawn areas and built-in interiors of the alien world, so if there's anything the developers did do right, it was retaining the aesthetics and feel of the planet's environment while making full use of the Sega CD hardware. Also retained is the audio, with the original sounds and its CD quality soundtrack shared between both games, which was also composed by Jean-Francois Fertez. I think. Either that or it's Tommy Tallarico. He is listed in the manual credits under music and sound along with Jean-Francois, but not in the game credits, so I'm not exactly sure which of the two did the music for Heart of the Alien. Either way, it's still nice, and often regarded as the best soundtrack for Another World as well, with its suspenseful and ambient scores. What I am sure of though is the overall story as a follow-up falls pretty flat. If you were interested in finding out what happens to Lester after the ending of Another World, then you're going to be pretty disappointed. Lester does show up to help alongside his buddy, which is odd that he fully recovered already after getting slammed into a wall and kicked across a room. I guess a short nap on a destroyed village altar can do wonders. In any case, it's pretty neat that the roles have been flipped this time around and that Lester is now the AI friend helping out the player-controlled alien.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down.
This only lasts for one section though, as the duo later confront Red Eyes and Lester gets a nasty shock after saving his buddy again. Is he dead? Hell if I know, we still got more of the game. So after blowing up that generator with the bomb, the whip gets broken after a crate falls on our head, somehow, and we have the final confrontation with the Red Eye guy. This is the only time you ever use the whip on someone, because of the attack delay and its needy hit detection, it's a real pain in the ass. Once we deal with that, we lower our Antagonist and Nita Visine into a pit where Buddy releases a black beast. And in a final moment of badassery, Red Eye takes the beast in hand-to-hand combat. But eventually the animal gets the better of him, and the rest of the imprisoned aliens are set free and light up the place. However, our buddy hasn't forgotten Lester, and oh god, why is he drawn like that? Oh phew, he's back to normal. Well, everyone is free and happy now, and surely Lester is... Oh, he did die. Yeah, I told you what happens to Lester is disappointing. Not to mention sudden, that has to be the most abrupt and fastest cremation I've seen. Sure, Buddy is fine and his village is back, but the fact that Lester sacrifices himself about a little over halfway through the game is rather questionable. Why even kill him off at all in this? I guess Lester will never find a way back home, or hell, he could have helped his friend lead the rebuilt village, but no, he just dies pointlessly. What a waste of a sequel. This did have potential as a follow-up of Another World, but it's just not that good. The game is just about as short, but relies too heavily on cheap deaths to elongate the game, and overcoming obstacles feels more like a chore rather than satisfying. Not to mention rehashing the previous game a bit too much to my liking. The story, besides providing backstory for the alien buddy, is not worth following. Hell, a lot of Another World fans refuse to let this game be canon and prefer to leave the original's ending as open speculation. And unlike Another World where you had incentive to replay it once you know how to and breeze through it, I did not want to play Heart of the Alien again at all due to it being an inadequate sequel and just not being as fun or memorable. On the other hand, it does sort of redeem itself by including a well-made version of Another World as a consolation if you just want that. However, I know not many of you have Sega CDs, and a copy of Heart of the Alien isn't exactly cheap. I just suggest getting the 20th anniversary edition of Another World off of Steam or Good Old Games if you want to get into it. As for the sequel, don't bother. It's not really worth it.
Well, at least it's not an F&B game.
You mean like these that you also gave me, Angel?
Yeah, like those.
Still, I'll give Heart of the Alien that at least.
Not to mention the fact that Eric Chai had practically nothing to do with it, but with him working on Heart of Darkness, the true successor to Another World that took over 6 years to make. Now that I think about it, both games have Heart of in their titles, coincidentally enough.
Oh yeah, didn't you review that game a few years back?
That I did. And weren't you doing a Let's Play of Heart of Darkness a while ago?
Right, that Let's Play I never finished. Hey, have you ever played Eric Chahi's latest game, From Dust? I've only played a demo myself, and it seemed interesting.
I did try it, but I didn't much care for it. Still, Chai did come back after over 10 years to make a new game. Although at this rate it'll take him over 15 years before he makes another one.
I know, right?
But
So did you know that Eric
first
Chai
time
was
I
a
ever
graphic
played
designer
Another World was
for
like,
Delphine
when it
Software?
first came
Or I
out,
think
so
it
it must
was,
have
according
been,
to what I've been reading into.
5
I
years
do
old
know
at
he
the
designed
time,
the
if not
graphics for this
younger,
point-and-click adventure game called Future.
Okay, these two are gonna go on for a while, so I think it's time we end this. I'll see you guys on the next They Made a
I
Sequel.
watched my brother